So this is one of these things where you see the idea, you're like, okay, you read the article, you're like, huh, okay, and then you really think about it and you're like, wait a minute, what? So what I wanted to do was respond to an idea that was posted on the hockeywriters.com. Yeah, we're coming off of what was a very exciting week in the NHL with all the news, but ever since the Askarov trade, ever since the McGroarty trade, ever since the Broberg and Holloway offer sheets, ever since all of those things, I feel like the NHL and the news surrounding it has kind of died down a tad. And that's okay, you know, there are going to be high moments, there are going to be low moments, we are going to be filled with a lot of highs by the time the regular season starts up. But for now, we are coming off of one of the biggest highs in the offseason, so it's only natural that a huge low would come afterwards. Which is why we're going over onto the Hockey Writers and responding to an idea posted and written about by Mike Fink earlier 2 days ago. He went out there and made this tweet, or 2 days ago? Yesterday, excuse me, it's the 25th, my bad. He made this article that I wanted to go out there and talk about 3 trades that the New York Islanders can make to create cap space. Now, this article is very self-explanatory. Mike Fink is writing from the Islanders' POV and is trying to discuss ideas to free up money. Now, what I wanted to do was go over to the trade idea that is talked about in this piece. It is with the Detroit Red Wings, and it is a very interesting one. So, let's scroll down to the bottom of the article and read this. Here's an option for the Islanders. The Detroit Red Wings could add Jean-Gabriel Pageau. They don't have a lot of forward depth, as surprising as that might sound. Yes, they have a good top 6, led by a trio of DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond, plus they had signed Vladimir Tarasenko, but after that, there's a drop-off. With this in mind, they should consider adding Jean-Gabriel Pageau to strengthen the middle of the unit. Pageau is on the decline, but still is a valuable contributor. Specifically, he's a good passer, and centering the third line, he'll play great defense. It makes him a worthwhile addition for a Red Wings team looking to make a push for both a playoff spot and cup contention. For the Islanders, Pageau is the player they'll want to move. They hope to make a splash at some point, whether it's before the season or at the trade deadline. With this in mind, a Jean-Gabriel Pageau trade could happen at any point from now until the trade deadline, albeit a trade deadline move might have a different return depending on where both teams are in the standings. Now, that is not necessarily incorrect. I don't want to say that this article is completely out to lunch, but just the idea here. Jean-Gabriel Pageau over to the Detroit Red Wings. This is one of these things where I feel if Steve Yzerman makes this move, you're going to see a lot more people talking about how the Yzer plan is cooked and how this guy doesn't know what he's doing and this and that and the other thing. JG Pageau is making $5 million a year till the end of 2025-2026, and the Red Wings are already in pretty hot water when it comes to the fan response to some of the contracts that have been handed out to this team prior to. Let alone talking about contracts given out to middle to bottom 6 caliber centers. Andrew Kopp and JT Compher, I think, are the biggest 2 factors, and then you have all the money given out to other defenders, Justin Hall, Jeff Petrie, these guys adding on extra dollars. So if you have this team already in a vulnerable spot, already in a position where fans are looking at it and saying, okay, what's going on here? Why are we getting these guys? Why are we signing these contracts? The team is already in a pretty vulnerable position, and they kind of need to make the playoffs soon or give the fans something to cheer about in the immediate short-term future. For a team to go out there and acquire a guy like JG Pageau for $5 million only to have him playing in the third line spot, that is ultimately another one of these daggers that would damn the Red Wings and damn the Yzer plan in the eyes of many Detroit fans. There's already been some restlessness the past few months here, so trading for JG Pageau certainly wouldn't fix that. That's not even to disrespect JG Pageau. I mean, he's 31 years old, 5'11", right-handed center. He's a good player. I mean, he had a lot of opportunity last year on the penalty kill, and he had 33 points in 82 games played. He's not a bad guy by any means. It's just, do the Red Wings need another expensive, middle-caliber center who can play a pretty good defensive game? They have 2 already in Kopf and Compher. They don't need another one. I get it, you could say, oh, move some of these guys to the wing, change things up, have Kopp and Compher on the same line, and then have Pageau on the third line, or whatever. And sure, if you had these guys all on the team already, it would make sense to maybe try things out that way. But that's the thing, the Wings don't have JG Pageau on their team right now. They're going to have to trade away some assets to get him. Is that really worth it, to shell out an asset or two to get this kind of a player and then put him in this position in the lineup? You could probably use $5 million of cap space elsewhere. And I get it, you could say the Wings might not even have the ability to make this kind of a trade anyway if they sign Raymond Insider to a deal in the 7 or 8 year range. Now, that's not guaranteed. They might sign shorter term bridge deals. It's kind of a pattern of Steve Yzerman's to not give out the bag right away to some of these RFAs who are coming off of their ELCs. But still, the point remains, Raymond Insider should be #1 priority, and if they sign the kinds of contracts that they could sign at this point, you're not going to have any money for a JG Pageau. Especially since his contract is 2 years long rather than a year at this point, it does not seem like an option that the Detroit Red Wings can explore and actually win from. So, if you're a Red Wings fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire idea? Is JG Pageau a realistic target for the Detroit Red Wings? Obviously, the article that we're reading is an Islanders POV-centered article, so they're not really thinking too much about the other teams. They're not thinking too much about the circumstances of their opponents. It's just, hey, what can the Islanders do to create cap space? Okay, they can trade JG Pageau to Detroit. I don't know why Detroit is up in here talking about how they need extra players and they have a lack of depth and everything. I mean, the Red Wings core isn't too bad. Their top 6 is pretty alright. If you wanted to say that JT Compher maybe is like the outlier on the top 6, okay, I can live with that. DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond, Tarasenko, Kane, and Compher. It's always that quote-unquote and Compher that's gonna bite you in the behind. But, like, trading for JG Pageau is not gonna fix that. I mean, he's not overtaking a guy like Compher in the lineup. So, at best, you'd have JG Pageau maybe replacing a Rasmussen or a Berggren in the top 6, or you move Kopp down to the 4th line and you get rid of Veleno. At that point, it doesn't really feel like you're upgrading the team in a way. So I don't really see this trade as something that makes sense for the Detroit Red Wings. It makes sense for the Islanders because they gotta free up some money, but other than that, JG Pageau to Detroit doesn't make any sense unless the Islanders add on a sweetener or two and they take on a contract. Not like a player who is alright, but like a contract. Like, okay, this guy is really just getting sent over to balance out the scales. Is there anybody in Detroit who would feed into that sort of idea? I mean, if you go over to the Wings and their salary cap situation, I mean, Patrick Kane, no, they're not going to trade him away. Christian Fischer, Tyler Mott, probably not. Any guys expiring at the end of 2026? Tarasenko, but no, that's probably not going to be an option there. They're not going to trade away Veleno. They signed him recently. Maybe a defenseman, who really knows? There are a lot of guys, I think, that could make the money side of this trade work, but it doesn't really make sense to explore it further if you really go down to the nitty-gritty. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the idea of JG Pageau getting traded over to the Detroit Red Wings. Article will be linked in the description if you want to see more options for the Islanders to free up some cap space, but of course, I mean, the majority of my fan base here is Red Wings based compared to New York Islanders fans, so I'm pretty sure the comment section of this one is going to be mostly dominated by Wings fans, but either way, thoughts in the comment section below about JG Pageau and Detroit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.